All right, so while everyone is getting situated, I'd like to take some time to introduce myself and Troy DeGroot. On behalf of the National Glass Association, I'm Jenni Chase, Vice President of Workforce Development. Thank you for joining us for today's Thirsty webinar, Bluebeam and Beyond, featuring Troy DeGroot, owner of U Chapter 2. Before we begin, I'd like to take note of some of the key NGA events coming up through the remainder of the year. First up is the NGA Glass Conference taking place in Ypsilanti, Michigan, just outside Ann Arbor. Please join us at the end of September for discussion plus a special tour of the nearby Guardian Glass facility. Registration opens August 5th, but you can visit our website anytime to view the latest schedule updates. Also coming up is Glass Build America. I personally am very excited about this. We are headed to Orlando, Florida this year, November 4 to 6. Theme is Build on Innovation, and we are encouraging everyone to attend to find new opportunities and to help strategize for the coming year. Registration for exhibit personnel opens June 18th, and then attendee sign up will be available July 24th. So look for information in your inboxes about how to attend Glass Build America. So turning our attention to Bluebeam, first I'm excited to announce that NGA will now offer Bluebeam courses on myglassclass.com. They will be available at a 30% discount for NGA members. So these courses have been developed by our speaker, Troy DeGroot. And after his presentation, he will review these courses so you can get a better understanding of what the courses entail, what you will learn from them. Courses include Bluebeam Basics, Bluebeam Material and Takeoffs, Construction Estimating Principles. Beyond the actual Bluebeam software, we also have courses on reading construction documents. And again, all of that will be available to NGA members at a 30% discount. So with that, how today is going to go, we are first going to do a special replay of the presentation that Troy gave at the recent BEC conference in Las Vegas about Bluebeam and how you can best use it to its full potential. After that, he will join us live to answer your questions. So if you have questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to use the chat. And then after that Q&A, he will also provide a live demo of the new My Glass Class courses. So with that, we will begin the presentation. I have two people raising their hand. If I will, Sarah in the background will answer your questions via chat. And for now, we'll get into that presentation and then we'll do some Q&A and take a look at the My Glass Class courses.
All right. So today we're going to talk about the other 85% of Bluebeam. And what we mean by that is a lot of you are using Bluebeam. How many of you? Good, you're my people. I knew you'd stick around. The other 85%. So if I asked anybody in this room, how much of Bluebeam do you use? I hear it all the time, probably 10, 15%. And each of you uses a different 10 to 15%. So I'm gonna go through a bunch of different ways that my customers are using Bluebeam, and you'll relate to one of them, but you might learn some other ones that you could utilize as well. So my name is Troy DeGroot. I am the Bluebeam Professional Services Director at U Chapter 2. I started my career in a high school internship doing structural steel detailing. That was actually a board drafting job that I did for a couple years, helped them transition into AutoCAD, and then went to work for a couple different engineering firms in the Minneapolis area where I'm from. So through that, I worked my way to a BIM manager position. I transitioned about 70 employees across 7 offices into that BIM workflow. That included structural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, civil, and also laser scanning. So it was through that process that I learned that rather than sitting in a cubicle, I liked developing people and processes. Yeah, so I switched into teaching. I was teaching AutoCAD fundamentals, Revit structure, Revit architecture. A little over 4 years ago, I broke off, started my own company, U Chapter 2. And so I am 100% focused on building custom tools for customers and training. I train about 4,000 students a year and build custom tools for 30-ish companies every year to match their workflows. I've been a speaker at XCon, which is Bluebeam's global conference. I think I've taught 9 or 10 classes there. I just submitted 3 more classes they rebranded to Unbound, which will be in DC at the end of September. So hopefully I'll get a chance to teach there again. I'm also a subject matter writer for Bluebeam. So if you go to their website, you'll see 16 articles that I've written for them on how the industry is using their software. So that's me in a nutshell. Today, we're going to be talking again about the other 85%. So throughout the life cycle of your projects, whether we're using Bluebeam for design review, red lines, detailing and sketching, document management, revisions, overlay, compare, RFIs, collecting field data before or after the project is complete, and quantity takeoffs and estimates, which is by far the one I'm asked about most of the time. So through that, I have a long list of things that I want to show you, and there's subtopics underneath each one of these. So I'm going to do my best to get through all of this. Traditionally, I would ask you to ask your questions throughout, because I love the rabbit trails that the questions bring in. But I know some people are interested in some things that are at the bottom of the list. So I'm going to try to fire through and get through all of them. And we'll answer questions at the end. And I will hang out in the lobby again as long as we need to. I don't leave till tomorrow afternoon. So if you want to geek out on Bluebeam, I'll be out there. Okay? So I'm going to transition into the demo part now. Into the software. And you guys know the risk of going into live software demos. So hopefully we don't see any glitches with software or anything like that. So I did print that last slide. I have it open here in Bluebeam so that I will be able to basically not forget what I want to show you. So we're going to start out with simple markups. So here I've got a detail sheet, and I just want to show you guys some real basic tools. And before I'll show it here. So if I go into Tools, Markups, Bluebeam's very intuitive, just like you guys know. If you're looking for a markups tool, Tools, Markups. The callout tool is just a text box with an arrow that's going to point to whatever you're referring to. So let's just say I point at this area here. I drag it off to the side and type in your note. Okay, I don't get real creative with these. This is a callout. Okay, some of you, if you want to move closer to be able to see the screen, I'd encourage you to do that. But that's a simple markup. Some people that are self-taught, of course, everybody, you draw a text box and then you draw an arrow to point to that box or from that box. If you use the callout tool, you'll see that arrow is always attached to the markup, so you can move that text wherever you need to. One trick that I like to show here, if you right-click, you can add a leader. So you can point that same note to as many different places on the drawing as you want to. Right-click, add a leader. Okay? A lot of people will do that initial one, and then they'll draw arrows, try to line it up with the elbow here, and pray that nothing moves. If you do it this way, you can move that text, and all of that will move with it. Okay? Another way to do that is to hold your Shift key down on your keyboard, click on this little elbow here, Shift key down, and it will start one for you. If you continue to hold your shift key, it'll lock in on the 45s. If you let go, you can freehand wherever you want. If you want to remove any of these, I just hold my shift key again and click on the tip of the arrow, and it will remove the ones I don't want. Okay? Simple tips and tricks. Next one I'll show, one of my favorite markup tools is the Cloud Plus. A lot of people use the cloud. It will draw just, you can click and drag a rectangle, gives you the cloud, or you'll notice that I'm going back into the tool. You can pick and draw whatever shape you want, okay? I purposely turned off my reuse markup tool so that you would see you draw a cloud, you have to go back into the menu to grab it again. If you come down here on the status bar and turn on your reuse markup tool, once you grab that next tool, like the cloud, and I draw one here, it keeps me in that command so I can keep drawing clouds one after the next. I don't have to go back up to the menu, okay? Reuse markup tools. Another one that you may have noticed when I started typing out this note here, so let me do another one. I'll do a text box this time. Traditionally, you draw that box too big, and you type in your note. This is a text box, and you click out of it. Now, because I have that reuse markup tool, again, turned on at the bottom, it started my next text box. So I'm going to escape that. But what I wanted to show you here was, traditionally, you make that box too big, and then you have to go back and drag this box to fit that, right? If you go up into your settings and preferences and go to your tools section on the side, this fourth one down, auto size text box and call it markups, if I turn that on, that's like a tip and a trick that you're going to set and forget. And that, now when you do your text box and you type in your note, text box, and you click out of it, it will automatically shrink that box. So you don't have to go back. You're going to save a click and a drag every single markup that you do. Along with those real basic markups, what we can do is utilize our tool chest. I have mine over on the left side over here. A lot of times for customers, I'll build just a general comments tool chest with the most common markups in here. But I put those on layers so that when they do those markups, you might have some that are internal comments, some are to the customer or the client. We put those in the tool chest, preloaded with layers, so you can turn those off and hide them if you need to, okay? If you're always drawing a detail over and over again in your markups, you can just add those into your tool chest. So like this one here. If I want this to be a Z-strip, I drop that detail in there. Sorry. My zoom is going all around, different pages here. Here we go. So I just drew a simple Z-strip with a fastener and put my notes in there so the verbiage is the same every single time. I dropped in that whole group of markups in to draw a quick detail. Okay, so you can use the markup tools in here as well. The lines, arrows, arcs, polylines, dimensions, and everything, the shapes. All right, so that is my markups. Let's jump over to our next one on the list, calibrate and measure. So in Bluebeam, whether the drawing was printed to the correct scale or not, we can calibrate the drawings and get accurate measurements. So you go over to your measurement panel over here. There's a little delay here, evidently. All right, also make sure that you close your panels so you don't end up working on a postage stamp. So in here, you just go to the calibrate tool. Now below that, there is a preset. So if I look at the drawing and it's 3/4 inch equals a foot, I can come down and select that. But I'll teach every single one of my students every single time, never do it that way. I know from 20 years in CAD, you can very easily check a box that says scale to fit, which means it'll stretch that drawing to fit on whatever size piece of paper you accidentally chose the last time you printed. So this right here is a 42 by 30. And if I printed it on an 8.5 by 11, and I just grabbed the scale out of here, guess who's not going to win that bid, right? None of your measurements are going to be accurate. So I always do it manually. I come over to calibrate, pick that one there. It tells you to select 2 points of a known dimension. So I'm going to say, okay. I'm going to zoom in somewhere where there's a dimension. And the other thing, anytime you're doing any calibration or measurements, you want to make sure down here on the status bar you have your snap to content turned on. This is where it's going to snap to the content of the PDF. So you're not zooming in and guessing, you're actually snapping to that line work. You can see that little square here. When I pick on that, tip here, I like to hold that shift key again so I can draw a straight line over to that next part of that dimension string. Pick there, and then it says basically this random distance on the piece of paper equals 1 foot, and I'm going to update that to 5'8". And click apply scale. Now all the measurements that I do after that will be accurate. So now I can come in, let's see, maybe over here, I need to get the length or the wall area of this area. You know, what's that distance? What's my reveal? Again, holding my shift key, I can get those measurements. Okay. Now, a lot of people, a lot of companies that ask me to come in and build custom tools for them for takeoffs, this is as far as they take it. They're measuring things with the generic markup tools. They have a notepad off to the side. They're writing things down. They're doing all the calculations in their calculator. And pretty soon their grocery list ends up on that list and it goes home with them. And I always ask them, what happens 2 weeks from now when you have a revision and you have to remember how you got to the number you did? And they always kind of stare at me blankly. If you're doing your markups in Bluebeam and your measurements and all of that, it's there, and all of the data is down in the markups list down here. So every area measurement that you do for a window, every linear footage markup you do for caulking or seals or anything like that, all of that's collected down here. And I'll show you some custom tools that I built for some customers and what that looks like down here for them. And it's different every single time. Okay, so that's the calibrate and measure. Let's go into multiply, is a new tool that came out relatively recent. Forever, people have been asking for an offset tool, and so this is kind of that. I know this is a steel floor plan, not exactly relevant to you guys, but think of it as a window mullion or something like that that's evenly laid out. If I come in here to this steel beam here and right click and go to multiply, I can have it multiplied down and tell it the distance. So this should be 7'9". And then you tell it how many copies. You can have the preview turned on as well. So as I bump this up, you'll see that those are copying down, and I can click OK and apply those very quickly instead of grabbing the tool from my tool chest and drawing, picking on both ends each time for these. I can just offset those very quickly in that bay where they're all the same length. So that's the multiply tool. Anybody learning anything yet? Awesome. Feel free to clap or ooh or ah or anything. I love that stuff when you learn something. Okay? Let's talk about sets next. Okay? Before I do that, I want to show you guys some tricks here. So in my thumbnails, this is a document that I got from a customer, the architect, or whoever it might be. It's a 36-page document. And if you look at the thumbnails over here, they've blessed us with a drawing where I have 1, 2, 3 sheet number 2s, right? That page label is screwed up. So what do? You double click in here and you type in G space 100. And sometime between now and next Tuesday, you'll have this drawing labels all updated, right? We don't have to do that in Bluebeam. Just come up here where it says create page labels. We can select a region on the title block, and you're going to draw a box as big as you can, as long as it fits in the title block. Because on any given sheet, you might have a 0.5 or an A or B or whatever they use. So make that box as big as you can. And what we're telling Bluebeam to do is look at that box on every single sheet. I'm going to say OK here. Make sure I do it for all pages. Click OK. And just like that, it updated all of my page labels. It looked at that corner of each sheet and published what it saw in that page label. Okay. The next one I want to show you is our batch link. How many of you guys are using batch link? A couple of you back there. Awesome. So I'm going to go in and do my open file. Not this one. Okay, so with this one, I already updated my page label, so I'm going to leave that one, and I'm going to click Generate. And it gives me this list of all of the page numbers. And basically what this list means is every time Bluebeam finds A202 throughout the drawing set in plan notes or section cuts or anything like that, it's going to create a hyperlink to page 5 of this document. Okay? One trick that I like to show here, you guys know, looking through your drawing sets, there is never going to be a general note or a section cut that says, look at the cover sheet for a 3D rendering, right? So we don't need that. We don't need G100. But we do want to guide people back to that because that's where our sheet index is on that cover page. So what I do is I choose something that's on every single page, like a project number, and I come on here and I revise that search criteria. So I'm going to do 32.000.720. In my linked options here, I want to turn on the appearance, make it yellow, and do a fill style. Say OK here, and run. And in a couple seconds, it's going to create all of those hyperlinks for us so that we can navigate these drawings much quicker. Okay, it just created 164 hyperlinks. I'm going to say finish. And look, now my title block or my sheet index is active. I can go look at level 1. I can go look at this stair blow-up plan, jump to the section cut. And on every single page, I have a home button that will take me back to my sheet index. Let's go into compare documents. So compare documents is a fantastic tool where when a revision comes out and you're poking around, you're trying to find what changed in the drawings because clouding seems to be a thing of the past, we can have Bluebeam do that for us. So I've opened up the original of this drawing here. I'm going to show you guys a little trick as well. In the recent files, so this is going to show you the last 20 documents that you had open. It gives you a shortcut to those. If you right-click on a document here, so I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to go to Open Folder. I'm going to do this instead of going to Open and navigating through this whole folder structure. Why not just open the folder directly from there where that drawing lives? Now I can select the revision, open that, close my panel, and down here on the left side, I'm going to split vertical. So it's going to put a duplicate of the revision sheet over here. I can close this one and look at it directly next to the original. Okay? You can split your screen up to 16 times in Bluebeam, horizontally, vertically. You can have all of these different windows open if you need to. So another trick with that one, if this particular document, whether it's a spec or a spreadsheet or something like that, if you want to reference it, but you don't want it in your work environment with all your tools, just grab onto this tab here and drag it onto another monitor. You can look at it over there, get it away from your tools, and still be able to see that. Okay? Down here at the bottom, there's a tool called Synchronize Views. What that means is when I have these two different versions of the drawing next to each other, when I zoom in, it follows it on this one. So I can go through and try to figure out what's different between these drawings. Okay, nice to be able to see those side by side. But again, very difficult to find the changes. If I go up to Document, Compare Documents, and I tell it to compare the original to the revision and say, okay, it's going to create a third document with the diff extension here. So I'm going to split my screen again once it's done. Okay, I've got the original there. Oops, I didn't do that right. Split screen, change that one. Okay, revision, compare, and original. Now I've got all three next to each other, and you'll see that it went and clouded all of these that changed. So it changed a different window style. So that simple number right there changed in all of these areas where there's a cloud. So now I won't miss anything. Now some of you are saying, I've run that, the entire sheet starts on fire and there's clouds everywhere, okay? Are there any architects in the room? Let's pick on them. If we have an architect that decides their plan looks a little better 1/8 of an inch to the left on the title block, guess what? Every single pixel on this drawing changed, and it's going to cloud the whole thing. Okay, when that happens, because it will, just close it, pretend it didn't happen, go back into the compare, and here in the alignment, you can do a manual where it will allow you to pick 3 points on this drawing and the same 3 points on this one, and then it'll line up the plan or the elevation instead of the title block and all of that. So run it that way and you'll have better luck with that. So that is our compare. The next one I want to run is the overlay. So compare shows you where all the changes are with the clouds. If I do the overlay, it's going to, I'm going to remove this one and add that one and the original. It will automatically assign colors to those. If you have trouble seeing these colors, you can go and change those to whatever you want. You can load additional drawings if you want to. So for some people, we're looking for revisions and how they overlay each other to show what changed. Sometimes we're overlaying a mechanical and a structural plan to see if there's any clash detection or anything like that. So you can run those in here. If I click OK, it's going to, again, look at those pixel by pixel, overlay those, and create a brand new document for me called overlay. Everything takes longer on a stage, so there we go. So I'm going to split this one now and put all 4 up here. And on my overlay, this isn't a great example because it was just text, but if we zoom in to where those clouds are, so here, you can see that text overriding each other and what's different there. So again, these are just mark numbers, so it's not a great example, but if a wall moved or anything like that, it would show where the wall was in red and where it moved to in green, things like that. On my website, I've got a video that actually shows how to combine these so that the clouds are on the overlay, so you can see what changed and where on the same document. So you guys can check that out as well. Okay, I'm going to close these down. Actually, another trick there, if I go back to my checklist here and I right click, I can close other tabs and close all those at the same time in that, they closed them in that one panel. That's compare and overlay. Custom tools, this is where it starts to get fun for me. On this sheet here, if I look at my tool chest over here, I've got different tools for interior frames, exterior frames. I'll show you those in a little bit. Windows, so I've just got generic tools in here, A, B, C, D, E, because every project, window A is going to be something different. So we made those generic. Okay. Custom columns. So when I work with customers to build custom takeoff tools, a lot of times they have an existing spreadsheet where they do all their calculations and things like that, their labor factors, fab time, stuff like that, or they have an existing estimating software that they don't want to get rid of, but they want to somehow integrate those. So that's where we start. What kind of data are we trying to collect? In what order? How do we create the custom columns to incorporate all of that data or create it in the format that the estimating software needs? And then how do we create the tools to measure things, fill in the data, and upload it into our estimating software? So a lot of times we work with things that way. So as far as custom columns go, you'll see here, I built some very simple tools here for this customer to measure these frames. So I'll just do a quick one here. If I go to my exterior frames, I've got shear clips. So I'm just going to place one in the middle. It's actually telling me there's two, one on each side. We eliminated a pick and a click for each one of those. I grab my sill can, and this one is right here. So I just draw that there. And then I grab my head can, again, being as accurate as I can with my drawing. And so you can see here, I'm just highlighting like you would if you calculated that distance and then you highlighted it to say that you did it. That's essentially what I'm doing. I've got a vertical mullion here. Hold my shift key to get a straight line. Colors that in. And then I've got my horizontal. Again, an apprentice could do this, just come in and trace over these lines. Okay, wall jams. Double click. And there you can see now I've taken off that whole thing. Down here in the markups, so what I've done here, the next one on the list is spaces. I created a space right here called the fitness pavilion, because that's what all of these details are part of. If I create another one, and I call this one completely inside of the fitness pavilion one, I want to call this one type 18. It recognizes that. And now here you can see all of the data that we're collecting in our markups, getting ready to extract this to an Excel spreadsheet for this particular customer. So if I look at my spaces and I click at the top of that column, it will organize everything by space. So these are all fitness pavilion. But then here you can see all of the parts to the fitness pavilion type 18, which was this one. So basically we gave that assembly a mark number that the architect assigned, and we have a list of everything that's needed for that particular frame. Okay. Now this customer would take this information, they would answer the questions across the markups list here, enter in that data, and then they would come in here to export that data to a CSV. I built some batch configurations specifically to what they want to export. Say OK, and it's going to open up my Excel spreadsheet with that information. And this is a one-way export. If anything changes, you need to do that in Bluebeam with your markups and then export this again. But now I can grab all of this data, copy, and open up my export. It's going to open up the spreadsheet that they had built. And you'll notice all the column headers match Bluebeam. So I come in here and I paste it. It fills in all that. And then theirs is built, so they built it after they gave me this. But all of these formulas are based on the values in these columns and rows. The other ones I wanted to show you, I showed you the different markups that you can do. This is the Cloud Plus. You draw the cloud. You can place this note wherever you want it. And some of these, you'll see cracking here. You see a little lens here? We can attach images from the field to those markups as we're placing those. So if I click on that lens, it will open up my flip book where I can see the picture I took. okay? This PDF is now Tupperware, and these images are in that Tupperware. If you send this drawing to somebody that has Bluebeam, those images go with it. So you don't have to send those separately and tell them where they, this was picture A, it was taken over here. It's all connected to those markups. So void material, we got one here as well. Again, taking a second. But to add those, you're just going to select your markup, right-click, go to Capture, either from your camera or from a file, and go out to your images. Of course, let's go here. And this one, what was this? Water damage, okay? So we select our water damage image, open, it puts it in here. I click on that, and you can see the image that goes along with that one. Okay, so that's how you can add images to your markups in that way. So let's say I not only need to record something that wasn't correct in my installation, or like these are all an existing building where we're seeing problems. If I come in here, let's say rust is a common one. I can grab my rust tool that I built this morning and go in and draw that markup here. So it's highlighted. And down in my markups list, if I look at that markup, it will tell me the length of that markup. Of course, you got to have the right columns turned on. So you'll know that you have 8'7" or whatever of rust to fix. If I right-click on that one again, not only do I want the distance of the repair, I want to, again, add an image, go to that same folder, and select my rust image here. And when I click on that, you can see the damage in here that needs to be repaired. So by attaching that image, I now know what equipment I might need, what materials, what my labor might look like, how much time it's going to take, by simply adding an image to that punch item. To create RFIs and things like that, you go to Edit, Snapshot, take a picture of this area here, flashes blue, takes a picture of it, and then if you go into your templates, which you can build on your own for your company with your letterhead and everything in there, this is an electronic form that you fill in. I always put a blank page on the second page because you usually have an image that you want to paste in here. Okay, pasted that in. It came in at the exact scale that I took it from. Now I can flatten that and send off my RFI. The next thing that I want to show with the punch is status. So if I come in here and select this markup and go down to my markups list and go to my status, once I apply that change or I make that fix that thing in the field, I can come in here and double click on status and go in and say complete. In a paper process, back when I was doing structural design, when I applied a red line to a CAD file, I would scribble it with yellow, indicating that I finished it. I customized these statuses so that it would turn yellow to mimic that same workflow. Okay, so I marked it complete. You can see it automatically puts in there my name, the date and time that I said that was complete. You can't remove that. That is there. It can't be removed. If I'm now the person that's back checking everything, I double click in here again. And if I accept it, similar to the paper workflow, they would scribble over it with a green highlighter, indicating that everything was back checked. Same thing here. We just changed that to be green. If they rejected it, now we make it hot pink or something like that that we need to be flagged. So everything should be green before we print a new set. So that is status and custom status. What is the last thing? Markup summary. So once I have my punch in here with my images and things like that, I come down here to my summary, PDF summary. So it's running a report, a summary of all of your markups, and it's adding it to this drawing. So when I minimize this and I start looking at my punch list, this becomes a hyperlink You can see the image that comes with it, but I can click on that and it'll bring me directly to where that is in my drawing. Go to the next item on my list, click on that one. It brings me directly there. Okay? The other nice thing it'll do is create a captured media summary at the end of the summary that will then show you all of those images that you can then download from there or see them at a larger scale. So all of that goes with it when you send this PDF with that summary. All right, from there, we're going to jump into the second half of the presentation. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. You already heard my experience and my introduction in the video. My name is Troy DeGroot. I've been in business with U Chapter 2 going on 5 years now. And in that short time, I've trained over 12,000 students. I'm happy to update. I will also be presenting 2 courses at this year's Unbound, the Bluebeam conference in Washington, D.C., October 1st and 2nd. So my training is unique because I live in the industry trenches every day, learning company-specific workflows, obstacles, and goals, and design standardized, consistently accurate, and predictable solutions. I've worked hand in hand with companies throughout the United States, Canada, and Eastern Europe, building custom tools and training specific to their needs, helping them get the most out of their Bluebeam software investment. As we introduce these digital courses on myglassclass.com, I know some students are worried about finding support for questions or unique issues during digital courses. For that, you all have access to not only the resources listed here, but also the professional learning community I call the Bluebeam Brainery, which is an environment where users of all levels and all parts of the world learn together and brainstorm solutions. This is an extension of me and my courses where you can ask all your questions.
Hi, Troy. I might just interject to see if you have a different screen slide to share.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All good.
You're not seeing my slide?
Not right now.
Okay.
I'll stop for a moment.
How about now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. Awesome. Well, you didn't miss anything. I'll back up. Different resources here we talked about. That's weird. That didn't share. All right. So some of you might be wondering what exactly is Bluebeam Review. Maybe you've heard about it, but have never actually seen what the software can do. Bluebeam Review is a PDF-based markup, editing, and collaboration tool built specifically for the architectural, engineering, and construction industry. Quickly growing to over 3,000 users, Bluebeam is being used by 99% of the large construction firms in the United States and rapidly growing among small to medium-sized businesses as well. You can see here on the slide several of the ways the industry is using Bluebeam, some of which you saw in the previous recording. Today, I want to show you just a couple learning objectives from each upcoming course, which should give you a taste of the array of things you can do with Bluebeam Review. I know the most expensive cost of training isn't the training itself, but the time away from projects. With that in mind, I built all my Bluebeam courses to be only 2 hours, getting straight to the content you need and nothing more. Today, I'll do the same by taking only a few more minutes here of your time and getting you back to work. I hope you find I'm an extremely laid-back presenter. If you have any questions along the way, please post those in the chat section, and I'll do my best to answer them along the way. But just as a reminder, this is an informational presentation introducing the upcoming courses. This is not actually Bluebeam training. So, okay, enough about these slides. Let's jump into Bluebeam software. So you guys should be able to see Bluebeam now. Can you confirm that for me, Sarah?
Yes, it looks good. Thanks.
Awesome. Perfect. Let's get some things lined up here. All right, so before we jump into the actual Bluebeam courses, I want to mention 2 industry courses available as well. Construction Estimating Principles and Application is one, and the other is Reading Construction Documents. I call these industry courses because while I will be using Bluebeam throughout the presentation, I will not be teaching software functionality. It's not Bluebeam training. I just want to be clear up front on these 2 industry courses not being actual Bluebeam training. So Construction Estimating Principles and Application. This is a 4-hour course. I partnered with industry expert Paul Stout, who shares his extensive knowledge and decades of estimating experience. He will go over his 27 principles behind producing an accurate estimate, including things to watch out for. Paul and I will bounce back and forth discussing how those principles may be implemented using technology. So here I just wanted to show you a couple of the PowerPoints as we go through. Paul talks about risk, knowing where to begin with your bid. He shares a lot of Excel spreadsheets and resources in that course as well. And then he bounces it over to me with each of these to explain how we might use different functionality in Bluebeam to implement these principles. So just a brief touch on that one. The next course is Reading Construction Documents. In this 6-hour industry course, I go through the basics of reading construction documents broken down into 4 modules. Those modules include Introduction to Construction Documents, understanding industry document standards like hatch patterns, line styles, section cuts, and all of those abbreviations and symbols, drawing navigation, and the importance of specialty plans like shop drawings and things like that. With that one, students will get a 84-page workbook that I created with fill in the blanks, and they'll go through, and as we go through all those presentations, you'll be able to fill in the blanks. And this becomes a great resource for basically your whole career as you get involved with more parts of the drawings. You know, you might just start out looking at plans and then eventually get to specs and things like that. This will be a great resource for you to kind of refresh your memory on some of these things. So with that is a workbook with the reading construction documents. Okay. Now let's dive into those Bluebeam courses. Bluebeam Baseline Basics is the first one. This course is the prerequisite for the other Bluebeam classes. Make sure you register and start here. Even experienced users comment on the tips and tricks they learn in this course, some of which I showed in the recording. Things like adding the leader and synchronizing your views, compare, overlay, things like that we showed in the video earlier. In this course, we talk about the user interface. We go through the menu bar. We talk about the left panel, the right panel, the navigation bar across the bottom, the status bar, and some important tools down there. And then we go through all the markups, tips and tricks with each one of these. And then we talk about the basics of calibration and measurements as well. So that course, the Bluebeam Baseline Basics, is designed to get new and seasoned users of Bluebeam up to a newer high-level knowledge of Bluebeam. So I encourage you to start there. The second one is Bluebeam Basic Material Takeoffs and Estimates. After completing the Baseline Basics course, you can move on to Estimating Basics. This course is going to go more in depth with measurement functionality and start to teach users how to build custom tools for various construction material takeoffs. This very powerful class will enable you to build your own custom library of estimating takeoff tools, specifically for your company workflows. You get exclusive tips and tricks only years of experience and tens of thousands of custom tools can bring. With this one, I'll just show you the tool chest that we create. So I'm going to teach you in the Estimating Basics course
how to create a tool set and how to create all these different tools in that class. So everything that we do takeoffs on is either a count, a length measurement, area, or a volume. And so I give examples of different construction materials for each one of those, allowing you to kind of see how they come together. And you can imagine how the materials you're taking off can be built into those tools as well. So you'll have the tools that you need to build custom tools and your tool chest, and some ideas on how to organize those and things like that from all of my experience building tools for customers around the world. Okay. After that one, after you build those custom tools and learn how to do that, you can move on to the Bluebeam Advanced Material Takeoffs and Estimates. In this class, you'll take those markups further, those custom tools further, applying custom columns in the markups list to add even more value and data collection in the markups. We showed some of that in the video where we matched the customer's spreadsheet with all the data they're collecting. We can do that in custom columns in the markups list with our markups. We also talk about legends, exporting data to Excel, and a tool called Quantity Link, where we link the markups directly to an Excel file for live updates. So with this one, I'm going to jump over to the frame drawing that I showed in the video. And if I look at the markups list, again, just to review what we saw in the video, we've got all these custom columns with tags, assembly quantities, stock lengths, configurations, glass, everything's in here. And we just go through as easy as you saw in the video and highlight all of these parts, and they all fill in down here with formulas and things like that. And we teach you how to create all of those different types of custom columns. So again, you can start to develop your own estimating and takeoff capabilities in Bluebeam. So we're running out of time here. So remember, with the exception of the estimating principles and application being 4 hours and the reading construction documents being 6, all these Bluebeam courses are just 2 hours. So you can get back to your project and put your new skills to work immediately. With that, I'll quickly say thank you for joining today, and I'm going to kick things back to Jenni to close things out.
Thank you, Troy. I was so concerned with pronouncing Ypsilanti right for the glass conference that I pronounced your last name wrong. So please forgive me for that.
No, it's fine.
You did a great job. There was a comment within the first 2 minutes of your presentation. There was a comment from someone who said that they were already saving time by watching this presentation. So thank you for sharing your expertise. As a reminder to everyone in the webinar, you can access all of Troy's Bluebeam courses now on myglassclass.com. They are live in the course catalog, and they are available at a 30% discount to NGA members. So if you are not an NGA member, I would encourage you to look at the membership hub on glass.org, where you can see what benefits NGA offers beyond the free myglassclass.com courses and beyond the discounts on Troy's Bluebeam courses. You can do a cost analysis, look at the member dues, the training costs that you would incur as a non-member, and make a decision that makes the most sense for your company. If you have any questions about the courses themselves, as you look at the course catalog, you can email our team at myglassclass@glass.org. And as we switch to the next slide, just a reminder that a recording of this webinar will be added to the glass.org website by the end of the week. And you will also be receiving an email tomorrow with a link to this presentation, so you can re-watch it. And again, if you'd like to learn more, Troy's courses are now available. They're very similar to the presentation that you just saw, and they're now available on my glass class. So I would encourage you to visit myglassclass.com to check them out. And if you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to the team. So thank you everyone for your time. And thank you, Troy, for joining us, and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.